Okay, welcome back to our study of the Olivet Discourse, Matthew chapter 24, Matthew chapter 25. And we left off last time in Matthew 24 and verse number 44. The overriding theme of this entire Olivet Discourse is make sure you're ready. And Jesus, that's why he lists all those signs that precede his coming. And that's why he warns them, don't be deceived by this, don't be deceived by this. If they say the Christ is there, don't be deceived by that. I want you to be ready for the real coming, the real time when I come back. I want you to be ready. And now we're going to talk about how to be ready. Verse number 45 of Matthew chapter 24. Who then is the faithful and sensible slave whom his master put in charge of his household to give them their food at the proper time? Blessed is that slave whom his master finds so doing when he comes. Truly I say to you that he will put him in charge of all his possessions. And so this is a metaphor that compares Christ leaving and his return kind of as the head of a household who's got some slaves, and he puts certain slaves in charge of certain things while he's gone, and then he comes back at an unexpected time. And we want to be like those slaves who are found doing what their master told them to do when he left. Okay? And of course, this is a subtle allusion to the fact that Jesus will be leaving for a time. Now, the flip side of the coin is found in the rest of this, the remainder of chapter 24, verse number 48. But if that evil slave says in his heart, quote, my master is not coming for a long time, and he begins to beat his fellow slaves and eat and drink with drunkards, the master of that slave will come on a day when he does not expect him. So see, he won't be ready for his master. And an hour which he does not know. There's the day and the hour thing again. And will cut him in pieces and assign him a place with the hypocrites. In that place there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. So this is a clear warning. Nobody can debate this, to be ready. And the consequence of not being ready is being thrown into a place with hypocrites. Well, what are hypocrites? Hypocrites are people who profess to believe something, but by their actions they deny it. And this person is a professed follower of the master, a professed servant of the master, but he's not doing what the master told him to do. And when the master comes back, catches him off guard, he faces the consequences. He's thrown into the place where there is weeping and gnashing of teeth. And that is clearly a reference to hell. There are some modern theologians, evangelical theologians, who tell us that Jesus was warning there not about hell, but about the outer fringes of heaven, where unfaithful servants will temporarily weep and gnash their teeth when they realize how much more reward they could have received had they been faithful and not been drunkards and not be beating their fellow slaves. And eventually Jesus, full of mercy and grace, will wipe every tear from their eyes and welcome them into the inner sanctums of his kingdom. That is, I think, heretical type teaching. And it's amazing that these types of guys are in evangelical seminaries and promoting their garbage. And people are swallowing it hook, line, sinker, boat, and lake. And it's a great, great, great tragedy. Okay, so here's the characteristic of that evil slave. He was a slave of the master. To try to extrapolate from this passage that Jesus was warning unbelievers to get ready. Unbelievers are not ready. People who are never saved are not ready. This is a warning to people who are currently ready, who become unready. This is a warning to the true servants. So don't try to twist this and make it mean something it doesn't mean. That's why these theologians I was telling you about, that's so obvious what I'm saying. It's indisputable. So that's why they've got to change hell into heaven. Because there's no doubt that this man goes to this place of weeping and gnashing of teeth. And it's very clear he's a servant of the master, and he was ready at one time, but then he changes and becomes unready. And what's the indication that he's unready? Two things. He begins to hang out with drunkards. Well, contextually, how does that fit in the Bible? Bible says, New Testament says, no drunkard will inherit God's kingdom. Okay? So you can't argue with the fact that it's okay to drink alcohol, but to get drunk on alcohol, that's a sin. That's a really damning sin. And drunkards will perish in hell. That's the warning from the scripture. The best way to never get drunk is to never drink any alcohol. You never have to worry about going too far. And also, he begins to beat his fellow slaves in verse 49. Well, we know we've passed from death to life because we love the brethren. You know, and so if you start beating the brethren, hating the brethren, and so forth, you're not a lover of the brethren, you're a hater of the brethren. So that's another sign that if you had it at one time, you don't have it any longer. Now, those who maintain that it's impossible for a person to go from a state of readiness to unreadiness have a whole lot of scriptures to deal with, and we're going to cover those scriptures as we work through the rest of the Olivet Discourse. But this is the first one they have to deal with, and they cannot deal with it. Okay? Let me ask you a question. Do you believe you're a Christian? Do you believe that you're a true believer and follower in Jesus Christ? Okay, I hope you said yes. Could you become a drunkard? Well, is that impossible for you? No, it's not impossible. It's with the realm of possibility. Could you become a hater of Christians rather than a lover of Christians if you so decide under the right set of circumstances, given, the flesh that we know we all deal with and we're supposed to put it under? Well, sure, it's possible. The Bible warns that no adulterers will enter the kingdom of heaven. You're a follower of Christ. Hopefully you're living a pure sexual life. You're not immoral, but could you become immoral? Could you become an adulterer? Could you have an affair? Could you die? Yes. And so it's possible for someone who is currently ready to become unready. No one can debate. Jesus was saying these things to Peter, Andrew, James, and John, according to Mark's rendition of the Olivet Discourse. And so why would he tell them this if it had no relevance to them whatsoever? And again, it's not words that are designed for people who are never ready to get ready. It's the words for people who are ready to make sure they stay ready. Okay? All right. It's going to get even more convicting and convincing as we continue. So I'll see you next time.
HeavenWord 7 is made possible by the financial support of viewers like you. Thank you.